So today I'm going to the shop of my friend Jeff here in Utah to start the solar install in our camper truck. Now Elizabeth is not going to the shop with me because it's just going to be a work day with Jeff. And this is not something I would ever do, but she's not here, so I'll do it for her. Well, hey everybody, I'm Bill with Live Simple, Live Free, and I am very excited to be here. I want to introduce to you my friend Jeff that I have been talking about forever. He's going to be doing the solar install for this camper van. And this is his shop, and I've known Jeff for, I don't know, 8 or 9 years, something like that. Actually, we met because he, incidentally, is also a Thrive Life consultant. So, but tell me a little bit about your business. I mean, you build vans.
Right. So mainly Sprinter vans. We've worked on Ford Transits as well, a few of those. I started 4 years ago, just shortly after COVID hit. I built a van in my driveway, drove that for a while, traveled in it, sold it, built another one, sold that. About that time, that was about a year later, 2 of my boys said, hey, we'd love to do this with you, could we do it? So we got a little 700 square foot shop and we started building vans in that. We lasted about 6 months in there, and then we had to move to a bigger shop. We were there for about a year and a half, and we just moved into this shop 2 months ago. So we're about 3,500 square feet in this shop, and we typically are working on 3 or 4 vans at a time. And right now I think we're having processed our 21st and 22nd vans that we've built.
Wow. Yeah, I was at one of your shops a year or 2 ago.
Yeah.
This is considerably better.
Yeah.
So you have a YouTube channel, and incidentally, I've watched many of his videos. Most of his videos are about how to build, details about how to do the installation or how to do the wiring or the plumbing. I watched a lot of them. I kind of had an idea because I'm a contractor, but I learned van specific things. He also has a website where I got a lot of information about what materials to use and what kind of lights and all that kind of stuff. So tell me your website and your channel.
Yeah, so our website is thrivevans.com. So kind of like the Thrive food, but Thrive, so THRIVANS, so Thrive Vans run together. And then our YouTube channel is Our Thriving Life. And kind of my philosophy is, I'm a van builder, we build and sell vans, but I started as a DIYer, so I like to support the DIY community. That's mostly what our YouTube channel is focused on. We also have a lot of resources for DIYers on our website. But really, like you say, it applies to vans, but a lot of it can be transferred over to box trucks. We've had a few people contact us about doing those now, I think as a result of you talking about it on your YouTube channel. So yeah, we're pretty much open to anything.
Okay, but this is the first box truck you've actually done anything on.
This is,
okay.
Excited to get going on it.
So you can come to Jeff if you want to buy a new van, a custom van, you can design it the way you want, right? Or if you're doing your own DIY, like you said, he can do any aspect of it. Like for us, he's just doing the electrical. So if you're doing that at all, if you're interested in buying one or building one, check out his website and his channel. I think you're going to be impressed.
Yeah.
So thank you.
All right, let's get into it.
I will show you maybe a van or two. Do you have any that are like nearing completion or?
Not any. We're about 6 weeks away, but you can kind of get an idea. This one's pretty much framed out and everything.
Okay.
And so
you can see many of his tours of the vans that he's already built on his YouTube channel.
Yep.
So, okay.
All right.
Well, let's get started.
Okay.
So this is Jeff's shop. He's got tools back there to be making cabinets and stuff like that. He's actually got quite a bit of room in here compared to his old shop. There's 2 vans that he's working on. Usually he has a third one parked right where my truck is. So he's got plenty of room to fit 3 vans at a time in here as he and his sons work on them. As he said earlier in the video, he doesn't have any vans that are near completion. This one is the closest. He's got it framed out. It's got all the solar system in there and the water system in here, hot water heater. Still got to build out all the cabinetry and that sort of thing. If you want to see some of his vans, they're really top notch. If you'd like to see some of them that are finished, on his YouTube channel he has a lot of tours of the different models that he makes. Usually he and his wife Lisa do those tours together. So this is the solar in the other van that he's just starting work on. Notice how nice and precise and neat everything is. 2 batteries down there. He just really does exceptional work. Yeah. So we got a tight spot in here, but I knew that. So we got 2 batteries there. And
Yeah, so these are 280 amp hours each, so it's a total of 560 amp hours, which is a really good sized system. And then we've got our 3000 watt inverter here, which is what takes the battery DC power and converts it to AC to run your outlets. And then this is a distributor, a shut-off switch. This will be your alternator charge controller, and this is your solar charge controller. So we'll be mounting all of these. These two will probably be mounted on the walls. We'll mount this one on the floor, and then we'll just be connecting all the wires to everything. And then all these wires are what Bill has pre-run for all of his circuits, both AC and DC circuits. We'll connect all those to a breaker panel, and we'll be good to go.
so when we're done, I'll be able to have 3-way charging from shore power, from solar, and from my alternator from the engine when the engine's running.
Yep.
So that's cool. I tell you what, I'm glad I'm having him do this because I'm an electrician. I can wire houses, but this is a whole new thing for me, and it would have taken me a lot of research to be able to figure out how to do this.
Yeah, the DC is a lot different than the AC.
Yeah.
A lot of little nuances and things I've learned along the way. And I went through a training just earlier this year to become an ABYC certified electrical technician, which ABYC is the American Boat and Yacht Council. And they have really the highest standards, the marine standards, because if you have an electrical fire on a boat, it's catastrophic. And so they have very high standards, and so we felt like those are really there's not one directly related to van building and camper van converting. And so the ABYC standards are very high, so that's what we adhere to.
So if you have any work that needs to be done on a camper, especially about the electrical, come to Jeff to have him do it, because he has been trained and certified to make sure it's done correctly and to make sure it's safe. I have great confidence in his work. Now, I did everything on the plumbing already except for hooking up the fresh tank. So while Jeff is working on the solar, I'm working on the plumbing. So I'm using both joint compound and Teflon tape on these. This one is for the filler, for the water to come in, and then this is where the water goes out to go to the pump that provides the pressure.
Got a private airport right here, we're right over the landing pad.
Yeah.
The right end of the landing pad.
So this is the sensor that will let me know how much water there is in there. So this is the pump system. The water's going this way, so it goes into this filter before it goes into the pump. And then this is a pressure tank that helps maintain the pressure a little bit so the pump doesn't cycle quite as often. When I do a well system in a house, I have a pressure tank like this that's about at least 30 gallons, if not more. This one is such a cute little thing. I've never seen anything so small. And then it goes from here to the shower or the sink or whatever. This has got an air bladder inside of it, and you use the nozzle here to pressurize that to 30 pounds, and that helps maintain your pressure inside of your system. Those are big wires.
They are. The 4/0 stuff is really not fun to work with. That, in my opinion, is one of the biggest benefits to a 24 gauge system versus a 12 is with 12 and a 3000 watt inverter, you need to be able to handle about 400 amps. And so you need 4/0 wire. With a 2000 watt inverter, or with a 24 volt system, you're down to about 300 amps, which means you can use 1/0 wire, which is a lot smaller. So yeah, that's the biggest challenge, but there's only a few. It's just connecting the batteries and then the inverter, and then the grounds are the 4/0. Everything else is smaller.
See, I wouldn't even have had the equipment to put the connections on the ends of those wires.
Yeah, it does take some special equipment to do it. So this is our DC coming into the inverter, and then we'll be hooking up AC in, which is our shore power. You'll be able to plug in outside, and that will provide power into this, and then this will convert it from AC to DC to charge your batteries, and you'll have AC out here, which will run your electrical 120 volt outlets. But this guy is really important to be able to have the ability to charge from shore power and to run 120 volt devices. Yeah, there's those guys. We got those on.
It's also coming together over here where I'm working. I got the water pump and the expansion tank hooked up and screwed down. I got a ground fault receptacle mounted right here that will protect the receptacles here in the kitchen. So that's what I've been working on. And we've been tripping over each other, both working in this small space. So now he's actually got all of the system installed, the batteries and all three sources for charging the batteries. So what he's working on right now is hooking in all of the circuits into the panel where the fuses or the breakers will be. He's got the 110 AC on the left and the 12 volt DC on the right. So we now have both systems completely finished, and I'm so excited. All systems go. We got the electrical, the solar system over here. We got the fresh water tank over here. And Jeff is going to show me, I know nothing about this. As I said before, I can wire a house, but I don't know anything about DC. So he's going to go through the whole thing, show me all the components. I'm going to film it just for myself, for future reference when I don't know what's going on. Maybe I can figure it out. So I'll go ahead and show you what he's telling me about how all of this works and how to maintain it. And then I'll show you the freshwater tank that I did. Now this is not just meant to be a how-to DIY, you know, we didn't show all the components of him building this, but we will give an overview of what it all does.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a clue.
Well, we're gonna find out.
Yeah, okay.
We're going, okay. So right here we have our lithium batteries. These are two 260 amp hour batteries. No, sorry. These are two 280 amp hour batteries for a total of 560 amp hours. And so we have these two wired together to create a battery bank. And then this is our distributor. This is called the Lynx distributor. It has 4 different fuse locations, and we have these are fused and going to our different components. And so we have and if a fuse was ever to blow, one of these lights will come on. You just take a screwdriver, pull this cover off, and you can replace the fuse.
Are those fuses easy to find?
So they have them at automotive stores. They're called mega fuses.
Okay.
You just pop it out, take it into a auto parts store, they'll have them.
Okay.
And just get the same size fuse that it'll be printed on that fuse.
Right.
And so we have one of these fuse locations going to the inverter charger. One of them is going to our solar charge controller. One is going to our alternator charge controller, and the other is going to our DC fuse panel. So those are our four different locations. And then through this Lynx, basically it's a bus bar of the negative and the positive. So all of those components are just kind of tied together, and then this switch will switch on and off the system. This right here is called a shunt, and this measures the flow of current through the system, whether it's flowing into the batteries when you're charging or out of the batteries when you're discharging. And that gives us a readout. It's got Bluetooth, so we can get the readout on our phone and also on the screen that we'll show in a few minutes. And then the entire system through this negative bus bar is grounded to the vehicle chassis. Okay, so then through the batteries, we've got a big fuse right here. This is called an A&L fuse. It's a 400 amp fuse, and that protects the batteries if there was a short anywhere in the system. And so again, if that is ever blown, you just pop this cover off, undo the bolts, take that out, and again, this is one that you can get in an automotive store. It's called an A&L fuse. Okay, and then I'll talk about this. So right here we have all of our fuses and circuit breakers. So on this side are our fuses for the DC system. These are all labeled, and if one of these was ever to blow, there would be a light, and you just pull the fuse out and then replace it with the same size fuse. And then here are our breakers for our AC system. We've got our AC coming in, 50 amps coming in, and then the different circuits here, we've got 20 and 15 amp circuits for the different locations throughout the vehicle. And just like in a home, these are just basic home breakers. You would see it kind of trip, and you just reset it and turn it back on in order to reset that. If you ever want to work on the AC side of things, turning the inverter off does cut the AC power, but I recommend also turning off the main, just so that it's a double protection to make sure all of your everything's off before you work on the AC. Because the DC is pretty safe as far as electrical shock, but AC, you don't want to get shocked by AC.
Yeah, been there, done that.
Yeah. All right, should we switch to the other side?
Yeah.
So coming over to this side, this is our inverter charger. So what this does is the charging part of it means that we can plug in to an external source of AC power, like through our shore power. We can charge at a home using 15 amp power supply, or at a campground using a 30 amp power supply. This takes that power, that AC power, and converts it to DC in order to charge our batteries. And then so that's the charging part. And then the inverter part means that it takes the DC power from the batteries and changes it into AC power to run outlets like to power your computer or a blender or a coffee maker or a water heater or things like that. So anything really that you would plug in your home, you would be able to run using this inverter.
Now that's a 3,000 watt.
3,000 watt, yep.
Yeah, you normally do 2,000?
No, we do 2 on some of our smaller systems.
Okay.
But on most of our systems, we do a 3,000. So 3,000 watts, if you think about it, something that uses heat, that uses the most wattage.
Right.
So like a hair dryer will usually say 1,800 watts on it, or a frying pan, or a griddle. Those usually use about 1,800 watts. That's what kind of the highest that most household things use is 1,800 watts. So if you think about it, if you were to run 2 of those high heat producing things like a blow dryer and a coffee maker, that would be 1,800 times 2, 3,600. That would exceed the capacity of this. Now it can handle a little bit more for a short period of time, but it's best if you're using one of those heat or cold producing appliances to only run one at a time. So if you're making coffee, don't let Elizabeth blow dry her hair at the same time.
Gotcha.
Just do those separately. So try and keep just one of those going. Things like computers and the other things, even your refrigerator's 12 volt, but other things that don't use a full 1,800 watts, you're fine on. And you'll see on the screen if it's using more than 3,000 watts, and you just want to try to keep it under that. Okay, so over here is our solar charge controller. So on the roof, Bill installed 1,200 watts of solar, and that's a lot of solar. So he was able to fit a lot up there. All of those wires come in through this breaker and then feed this solar charge controller. And then that solar charge controller sends the wattage, the power into the DC batteries to charge them anytime there's sun. And we were testing it yesterday, and we were getting right around 1,000 watts, 980 I think, which is good. You're never going to get the full 1,200 because the panels are not 100% efficient, and also the sun is rarely exactly directly above you. And so you're probably, like I told Bill, probably going to see most of the time somewhere between 800 to 1,000. So that's the solar charge controller. And then next to that is, this is called the Orion, and this is the alternator charge controller. So we've tied wires into the battery of the vehicle, so when he's driving, it's going to provide power to charge the batteries as well. So what it does is it gives you 3 ways to charge. So you've got your shore power that you can plug into, you've got your solar, and then you've got your alternator charging. So it gives you a really the ability to keep the system charged in multiple ways. So if you don't have sunlight, you can still drive the vehicle, you could plug into shore power and still get power. Okay, and then this guy right here is the Serbo GX. So this is the brains of the operation. This takes inputs, all these different components are plugged into this, and then this gives us a readout on a screen of all of the systems, how much power they're using, how much charging we're getting, and then also we're able to plug in our water tanks, our fresh water tank and our wastewater tank right here in the bottom, and those will on the screen also show us the levels of our tanks.
So that fuse down there,
This
yeah,
one?
that's between the controller and the solar panels.
Correct. So your wires that you brought down,
Yeah.
I just ran into that, and then I just connected these wires out of it and into the
So if for some
controller.
reason I'm not getting charged from the panels, I should check that fuse.
Yep, that would be the first thing to check. is-
Okay, that looks like a big fuse.
Yeah, well, it's a breaker. It is a breaker.
Oh,
but yeah,
okay. Well, that's better.
yeah.
Okay.
So this right here is the screen that's attached to that Serbo GX, which is, like I said, the brains. It's giving our tank level, so our freshwater tank is at 92%. Our wastewater tank is pretty much empty. As we fill that wastewater tank, that line's going to go across and show you the percentage. Bill's got 30-gallon wastewater and 30-gallon freshwater, 30-gallon wastewater, so a lot of water capacity, so that's awesome. This gives us kind of an idea of the system. Our batteries are at 100%. And right here is a little guy that's important, this AC current limit. So you want to set this at or just below whatever you're plugging into. So like we're plugged into a 20 amp breaker, so you just want to set this below 20 amps. So I've got it at, I think 18. I've got it set at 18. If it was a 15 amp circuit, 14 or 15 is fine. But if you're plugging in at a campground to 30 amp, you can up that to 30 or 28 and hit accept and set it there. So the reason is, if you had it set at 30 amps and you plugged it in at a house, it possibly could try to draw too much power and trip the breaker in the house. So you just want to make sure you set that. It's not going to damage the system. It can just trip the breaker if you have it set too high. There's a few different screens. This one again is just the tank levels.
It shows the gallons in each one.
Yep, how many gallons are in each tank. And then this is just another graphical overview. This shows our inverter. It says we're in float mode, which means that we've been charging it on shore power all night. So float means it's fully charged. There's 3 stages of charging. Bulk is when it's putting everything it can into the battery bank. And then once it gets up to about 80–85%, it'll switch to absorption. Absorption mode is where it slows down that charge to enhance the life of the batteries. And then when it gets fully charged, it goes to float. So whenever it says float, that means you're fully charged. Over here, the shore power, it's only showing about 22 watts coming in, but if we were fully charging, it would be more like 1500 watts if you're using the 20 amp circuit, and if you were at a 30 amp, it would be higher. That's your shore power coming in, and then it'll show you your DC power usage and your AC power usage, and then this guy over here shows our solar charge, how much solar we're
What
getting.
does PV stand for?
Photo voltage.
Okay, so right now it's at only 17, 18 watts. That's because it's early in the morning and the sun is barely shining on it yet.
Yep.
When we tested it the other day in bright sunshine in the middle of the day, it was getting, what, 980, I think?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Which is really exceptional. Okay, very, very cool. I can't tell you how excited I am about this.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So now here is the fresh water tank that I installed while Jeff was working on the solar. And underneath here, I have this ladder, extendable ladder, that will allow me to get up onto the roof to clean the panels and that sort of thing. And I didn't know where to put it. And then I realized I got extra room in here, so I put an extra little shelf in there for the ladder. So here's my fresh water tank, which is 30 gallons. So this is the fill hose right here, comes in from outside, goes into the tank, and then there's another hose down there at the bottom right there. And if you follow that around, that goes into a filter right there and into the pump, and then into, this is actually called an accumulator. And then from there, the hose comes up and goes over to the sink and the shower. Pretty basic system. This is a vent hose that goes all the way up high so water won't come out, and then back down, and right there goes down through the floor. In case there's ever an overflow, it won't flood the inside of the camper, it'll drop out onto the ground instead. So pretty basic system. Now this is a pretty big system that he has installed, and my goal was to be able to run my air conditioner all night. And he said that the 2 batteries, 560 amp hours, he said that's about 7,000 watts. And as I've been running this, I've been monitoring it, it varies between 300 and 700. So he said if it ran full out at 700 watts, it would use up the battery in 7 hours. Or no, I'm sorry, in 10 hours. But of course it doesn't run full out at 700 watts all the time. It cycles in and out, and many times it'll be down to 300 watts. So basically, I could run this, full out for 10 hours, but it's going to be much more than that. So I'm going to be able to get through the night with the air conditioner, which was really important to me because we're heading to southern Utah right now, and the temperatures have been over 100 degrees every day. And now all of a sudden, when I look at the weather report, the temperatures at night are dropping down to about 40. So I'm going to be turning this around. Instead of using it as an air conditioner, I'm probably going to be using it as a heater but I'm so excited to be able to do that off-grid and not have to plug in and not worry about the heating and air conditioning. So this has been a long time in coming. I've been planning and building and all that for 6 months, and I can't believe it's finally here. I'm excited about it. I guess I keep saying I'm excited about it. Can you tell? I'm excited about it. So what did this system cost me? I guarantee if I didn't tell you, I would have a lot of people asking that question. Now bear in mind that this is a larger than average solar system, because I wanted to be completely sustainable off-grid. He gave me an initial price of $5,500, which included 400 watts of solar on the roof, 1 battery, and a 2,000 watt inverter. Well, I did my own solar panels on the roof, so he subtracted that out. And then I upgraded to 2 batteries, and I upgraded from 2,000 watts to 3,000 watts on the inverter. So then the price he gave me for all of that was $6,500. And then the solar panels that I put on the roof, I got 6 of them. They're Renogy 200 watt panels. They're $200 a piece. So that was $1,200 for 1,200 watts. So the $6,500 that I paid Jeff plus the $1,200 for the solar panels on the roof was $7,700. And like I said, that's for a larger than average system. Oh, and then I also had to get the roof racks. I don't remember what they cost, but that's, you know, there's different ways to mount the panels on the roof, and I elected the roof racks. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for such a stellar job.
Thank you.
I'm really excited about this. This is going to allow us to be self-sufficient out in the desert, out in the mountains, wherever we go. We're really excited about it.
Yeah, it would be totally off grid.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you need any work done, you know where to go.
Highly recommended. He just, like I said before, just incredibly careful, good work.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we do, you know, vans, truck campers, and also RVs. A lot of people with RVs bring them to us to have them as do off-grid systems, so they don't always have to be plugged into shore power.
Okay, very cool.
Yep.
What a sense of freedom.
Absolutely. So thanks for watching.
Live simple.
Live free. You be blessed.
Yes. Love you guys, and we're going to take you along on the adventures.
See you
Bye-bye.
next time.
Bye-bye.